have great respect for the process, but in all fairness, President Obama, paid $1.8 billion for hostages. You, not me, you, last night you saw it, Kim Jong-un did a great service to himself, to his country by doing this. But those hostages came out with respect. We didn't pay for them.
Just something the president was talking about last night in Elkhart, Indiana.
That's right. Let's bring in Diamond and Silk social media stars and Trump supporters. Good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
Good morning. What's your reaction to that? The president said he did something that President Obama could never do. He brought home our hostages for free.
Well, you know, the president is absolutely correct. You know, Obama paid billions for hostages. He traded off terrorists for American hostages, but President Trump didn't have to do that. You know, Obama, I know he's upset because he thinks that his legacy is being tarnished, but his legacy didn't have a leg to stand on.
That's right.
President Trump didn't waver. He didn't back down. He didn't mince his words. And look, we have Americans back on our soil where they belong.
Why do you both feel like they won't? Some on the left in the so-called mainstream media still won't give them any credit. They're saying, you know, this approach in North Korea isn't going to work. Why won't they ever do that?
Because they're envious, because they're jealous, because he's been able to do in between 16 to 18 months what Obama could not do in 8 years.
That's
right.
That's
why they won't give him credit. Listen, this president is not to be played with. There's a new sheriff in town. We call him President Donald J. Trump, and he is not playing. He's going to get the job done, and they are envious and jealous because they could never do that.
That's right.
Well, ladies, you're down in Washington, D.C. This week. They've been having the confirmation hearings for Gina Haspel to be the next CIA director. The whole conversation has turned to enhanced interrogation and waterboarding, which now the government doesn't do. But listen to this. Here's Whoopi Goldberg yesterday on The View with the plan for POTUS.
Remember how the gentleman in the White House talked about torture on the campaign trail? What I'd like to say is I would like you to try it. I think people who have actually been tortured, who are saying this is not a good thing, you should listen to them because you have never been tortured, and neither has Dick Cheney.
So what do you think?
Well, you know, why don't Whoopi Goldberg try it? She needs to try respecting the President of the United States is what she needs to try to do. The President of the United States is not a terrorist. He's an American. He's our president. So why would we waterboard him? If she want to try what waterboarding feel like, why don't she do it? Another thing, why don't she champion around Gina Haspel to make sure that she gets this position? Because wouldn't she be the first woman in this position? So you should be championing around this woman that's going to get this high position is what you should be doing.
That's right.
All right. Let's talk a little bit about the Garden State. Pete and I live there, and now, ladies, as it turns out, we are subsidizing things for illegal aliens because the Garden State is now allowing for illegal aliens to apply for state financial aid at the universities. And here's the best part, for instance, at Rutgers, which is just across the river from where we're sitting, down a couple of miles, illegals can qualify for in-state tuition. Not in the country legally, but they get in-state tuition.
You know, I think that's very sad. And who's paying for this? American tax dollars. What about the American students? What about American people that goes to school that have to pay student loans until they're about 50 or 60 years old? Yet we allow people to cross our borders illegally.
That's right.
And now we give them handouts like grants for them to go to college. What about the American people? I think it's sad. I think it's sick. I think every American that goes to college should be outraged and speak out about this.
And they committed their first crime whenever they crossed that border illegally. When an American citizen do something illegally, they are given 3 hots and a cop behind a locked cell block. Not no funding.
Ladies, what are you doing in Washington today?
Oh, we was in Washington for an event last night with Sarah Palin.
Yes, it was
Governor
amazing.
Sarah Palin,
It was amazing.
Very cool.
All right, ladies, have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
Tough talk during the CIA director nominee Gina Haspel Senate confirmation hearing, where she was grilled about overseeing a CIA torture program in 2002. My bad. Kamala Harris, senator, tried to find out if her views have changed. Take a look.
Do you believe the previous interrogation techniques were immoral.
Senator, I believe that CIA did extraordinary work to prevent another attack on this country, given the legal tools that we were authorized to use.
Please answer yes or no.
Senator, what I believe sitting here today is that I support the higher moral standard we have decided to hold ourselves
Can
to.
you please answer the question?
Senator, I think I've answered the question.
No, you've not.
Remember how the gentleman in the White House talked about torture on the campaign trail? No? We got a clip.
Don't tell me it doesn't work. Torture works, okay, folks? Torture, you know, I have these guys. Torture doesn't work. Believe me, it works, okay? And waterboarding is your minor form. Some people say it's not actually torture. Let's assume it is. But they asked me the question, what do you think of waterboarding? Absolutely fine. But we should go much stronger than waterboarding. That's the way I feel.
Well, what I'd like to say is I would like you to try it and see how that, because I don't think anybody, I mean, you know, see, I think people who have actually been tortured, who are saying this is not a good thing, you should listen to them, because you have never been tortured, and neither has Dick Cheney.
Actually, Dick Cheney had 5 deferments from the military, so he's never served either.
President Trump.
No,
But this is why I can't stand Trump. See, now we're turning it around again. Because
she's back.
she give it with this hand, she take it with that. I mean, because he says it, it doesn't work, because there's no collusion, there's no climate change, because he says it. That makes it true? No, it's not true.
I have a lot to say about this, and we're running short on the clock. So do you want me to? Okay. This is what I will say. Obviously, if you know nothing about my father, you probably know that he was tortured in prison for 5.5 years. He couldn't lift me up over his head as a baby. He can't ride a bike. He has war injuries that have lasted his entire life since. It does not work. Life isn't like the show 24, where you just take a gun and you're going to blow someone's kneecap off, and then you get all the information you want. The point is that people break at a certain point, and they give false information, which is why we have to rely on all our ops forces, special forces around the country, which, by the way, is how we ended up catching Osama bin Laden. The final thing I would like to say is, when you're talking about waterboarding, I don't think a lot of people understand what waterboarding is. And it's when someone is strapped on to a plank of some kind, normally at a 10, 20-degree horizontal way. They have a piece of cloth over their face, and then people pour water down them, and it gives the simulation of drowning. It is torture by anybody's standard. We have to be better. As I said yesterday, we have to be better than the terrorists. We have to be better than that.
Does it make her unqualified? Is she now unqualified to lead?
If you are okay with torture, if you're okay with waterboarding, which I consider, and I think from the pause, probably most
he
Americans
says go
do
further
as well.
than waterboarding. Maybe he means drowning. What is he talking about?
I think that is psychotic.
And that makes
psychotic. But this moral relativism of where we would go down, we as Americans are, what's next? Are we going to be like ISIS and chop people's heads off? We are better than them. That is why American exceptionalism.
She said she won't do it, but you know, everybody says they won't until they do.
And then Abu Ghraib happened.
And she also destroyed 92 videotapes.
We will be right back with more Hot Topics.
We tried Japanese generals and hung them for war crimes. One of the crimes was waterboarding. And finally, I guarantee you that when someone is subjected to torture, and by the way, this is a near-death experience, then they will tell that person who is administering that anything they want to hear. And when someone says that it led to Osama bin Laden, they're lying. And so what we got was a whole lot of bad information from these people who just told whatever they thought the interrogator ought to hear. And second of all, and are we going to subject people to torture? Is that what the United States is all about? And I'll tell you what General Petraeus told me this morning. He said the best way to get information is be a friend of that prisoner and develop a relationship over time. That's
Senator,
what works.
Do you believe that administration officials in the Bush administration, the former Attorney General, do you believe that they are lying?
No, I believe that they are in violation of the law. They're in violation of the Geneva Conventions. And I believe that they're lying when they said they got useful information. In fact, I know they're lying when they're saying that. They didn't. They got a whole lot of information that was totally false, because when you torture somebody. But the major thing is, do we want to resort to doing things that our enemies do? Do we want to be on the same plane as those people who are, quote, chopping off people?
But I got to stay on this because it was a huge point, Senator, and you hear the officials coming out in the Bush administration, former Attorney Generals, Michael Mukasey, specifically citing examples of how it worked. Do you believe that Michael Mukasey is a liar?
Yes. I know that he is. But the point is whether he's a liar or not. The point is that even if we had gotten useful information, the propaganda and the image and the behavior of the greatest nation on earth by torturing people is not what we want, and it helps the enemy. Now, again, you want to believe General Petraeus, General Mattis, all of those military leaders, or you want to believe Mr. Mukasey? I prefer to believe the military leaders who are the ones who are responsible for the lives of the young men and women under their command. And they say that it hurts them when we torture people. So it's just, I can't, we voted 93-3 in the United States Senate to prohibit this kind of behavior. So when Mr. Trump was asked, said, well, but it's against the law, he said, well, I'll classify it. Is that we want a president who will just violate the law? I don't think so. I think